Hello everyone and welcome back to another Solution 2 video. Today we're another playing Every Division video with a Bronirana Brigada. Now you might be wondering why there's a second one of these this week, because I usually only upload one per week, but unfortunately at the moment there's just not that many good games to be casted. There are not that many games being played at the moment in general, and because of that, yeah, I'm just going to fill it with a little bit more playing Division, which is also not bad for me because then I get a bit more practice. So this one is it's a kind of a fun one. I've played it, I think, twice or so far, so not really a lot. One of the, I think my second video on the channel, is a very early one at least, was me playing this one against Gasgard, so cast of my own games, and that one was so if you want to go back and watch that, of course my casting was not the same as it is today, for better or worse, but it was a really fun game and a really fun one to cast too. But yeah, so this division is basically, so my first quotation marks impression on this is, I mean, it's a spam division. I think this is very obvious. And the way I think this works is you have a lot of fun if your opponent can't deal well with light armor and you're on a map where you don't get outraged. And in any other scenario, you're not going to have fun with this division. And the reason why this is very low in the tier list usually is because it's just very likely that out of those two problematic cases is going to arise. You're either going to be on a bad map for this, or you're going to have a bad matchup of both, which is the reason why it's not super high. Because this thing can definitely be very dangerous in some divisions that can't deal with a lot of light armor. And in that case, this is an absolute powerhouse. So I think the way you play this is it's a Maverick build. You could maybe even Vanguard. Both I think are reasonable. At the end of the day, you have to go aggressive because this thing lacks depth in some areas. The infantry just doesn't hold up well. And if you go into long, grindy game, your opponent can just build up enough AT to really deal with that. So yeah, it is risky. Let's put it at that. Because otherwise you have some tools. You have some artillery. You have an air force. I think you should have enough AA as it is, but in other times it's just a little bit lackluster. And specifically because this build really reflects that as well. Specifically, the way I think you play this is you're gonna be very aggressive. If you're in tight areas where you really have to be concentrated in one or two spots, you're just going to spam the hell out of your opponent and hope that you kind of win that way. Alternatively, you kind of try to push either everywhere a bit or in one place and then kind of move on. If you've seen the game between Gasgard and SpongeBob, this is exactly, so the kind of push that happened there is exactly what you want to do, and then kind of spread out. Didn't happen, but this is kind of my idea of how you play this division, and this is also why I have like the radio units in here, because they can be super useful then. So as for the build, I do have in the recon tab the MW M223. Reason for that is 10-point armor, radio recon, and as you see, I do have artillery with radio, but also I do want to, so I've learned this from Stan on a recent stream where I played against him. It can be super useful to have a lot of recon, like cheap recon armor everywhere with your armor, and if you combine them everywhere, your armor is actually going to be a lot more deadly because it can spot a lot more things. That is kind of the idea there. Now, of course, you do have the SPW-22, as you can see right here as well, but they're more expensive. And we have more limits with this, so this is kind of a nice combination, I think. Speaking of it, yeah, we have the SPW-22 in with the regular recon unit. We also have these guys, Kondiki, it's Vidaki, and they're our only double machine gun unit, still not super good, unfortunately. They could be a great hybrid unit if they had shock, which they don't. But it's adding to your CQC power and map is super useful. So there's that. Infantry tab, so I have a lot of infantry actually. It's 77 infantry, which is a lot for Maverick tank division in my opinion. The reason why I specifically decided to build it that way is because I think we're just going to have to try and spam away and leave some infantry behind to defend areas, or just to be there basically, just to have presence. I think this is kind of the way. So you're going to be thin in many places probably, but just going to try to be in many places and put up some pressure. That's kind of the idea. And these guys are super nice because they have the radar trait, so they can really be annoying. You just try to spread them everywhere a little bit so that they can, maybe grab some flags, do some encirclements, things like that. That's just very useful for that specific reason. and this is why I take another card in B phase. In A phase, they're also nice because they come in the fastest transport of the infantry unit. The other one is this guy at 70 kilometers an hour. Pioneer in A phase, a bit of flamer, because in A phase I can still manage the grenade if needed, and we can combine it with the recon unit, and then I think that's kind of an okay combination. And then in B phase, I want to rely on these guys. This is where we have our big income, and where you're probably going to be somewhere in many places. So then it's nice to not have to micro your CQC as much. And at 20 points, they're actually pretty good because it's Sturm Pioneer. It's literally the same, but it didn't get the price increase. So, you know, it's actually cost efficient now. So pretty good. Then these guys, so there's a lot of different options here in the infantry tab between the Motorbehörde, the Behörde, and the Motorbehörde Faust. So the big difference is basically the gun loadout and the strength, right? Behörde, more men, Motorbehörde, better gun. Now, I think because we get the Panzerfaust, and that's super useful, we take these in B phase, which is the earliest that we can. And then for the rest, it's basically, we have to decide, do we want to have firepower or do we want to have more survivability? Both of them are reasonable ways to look at it. I think both are very valid approaches. It really just depends on is your decision or the way. Do you look at it as, well, your infantry sucks anyway because all single machine gun, which is not good. So I'd rather have it survive longer, while everything else does kind of support and fighting, or do you want to have at least a little bit of damage since your infantry is already kind of sucking anyway? So, you know, kind of minimizing damage. I'm going for this way, and then in C phase, when we just want to hold, I'm going for the I need more survivability way. Whether this actually works or not, I think it remains to be seen, but I think for our aggressive phases, having a little bit of firepower can really not hurt. Now, tank tab. There's a lot of spam here, as we expected, right? So these guys are A phase locked, so we take them in A phase. This thing is really good. This is basically the Panzer 38T that we also have in Tatra, and this thing is really good. Like, it has a high rate of fire, especially at single vet. Actually, pretty good armor for a light tank, combined with decent to good penetration for a light tank. So, you know, nothing above the curve, but it's still good. And the thing with this is, other light armor really struggles to kill this because this thing has just really good armor, and other light armor is usually at that penetration range. On top of that, this thing fires super fast, so this will generally outpen other tanks. It will pen faster. This thing actually, sometimes you see penning things that it definitely shouldn't pen just because of how often you fire, and at some point, you know, the odds will be in your favor and you will just get lucky. So that's how this works. If you try enough, eventually it will work. And then in B phase, these guys. Now, this is really not that good, by the way. Quality 11 is basically the same, but with lesser armor, which is why, I favor the 38T, P38. In B phase, we also get another light tank with the S35, and this thing is really not that good. So the reason I don't vet this is because I'm just going to spam this around everywhere because it's trash. 40mm is not going to pen any other tank, likely. You can use it well to bully infantry and to deal with half-tracks and things like that. But this is not going to win against other light tanks. This is not going to overpen on a medium tank or anything like that. It's just straight up garbage. You could also just leave it entirely. It wouldn't be a bad choice either if you decide that this is just a waste of point. You definitely have to be careful whether you want to spam this around or not. And then this, guys, it's 6 liters. I just decided in my B phase, spammy phase, this is also where I'm going to have my leaders. Then the Stücks in A and B phase. Why is that? Simple reason. These guys, of course, lack survivability against an actual medium tank, so I do want to have the Stück with the 9 of armor. I think they can survive a little bit more. Compared to the Panzer IV, it just lacks the survivability. This is the reason. It is cheaper, and third is really nice, especially in town situations, but I just think that we need something that can, you know, that can actually get hit, maybe, and survive it. And this is why I don't want to have this. Now, in C phase, of course, income goes down, and we might need to find in very different places. So this is, again, where I prefer the glass cannon, where no matter where I put this, it has a chance of actually winning, whereas the Stück, for example, in towns can easily get side-shotted. I mean, the Panzer IV is not a powerhouse in towns, don't get me wrong, but at least, you know, it is useful. Support tab, I'm trying this, I'm not sure if it's good, and to kind of hold ground, I'm using my MG34s. You could definitely take the 50mm to win some infantry fights as well. You know what, let's actually try this. I took it initially over this, but I just want to try this. So let's try this combination. It gives a little bit more aggressive potential in A phase, maybe into B phase. AT, we don't have a Panzer in A phase. By the way, this is if you don't want to take this infantry combination here. If you want to take a leader, you should consider taking this because it has a Piat, and then you have something in A phase. But yeah, we can only take them in B phase. We still do it because it's still a useful unit. You could also take this and kind of treat it as your Panzer. It is also better than the support gun because it has more pen, and of course the heat shell on top of it. But I just think that maybe we don't need it for the support thing, and we have a lot of light armor anyway, so I'm not really concerned about that. Putting more of these in is definitely not a bad idea either. Yay tab. Yeah, single vet is the maximum we can get. I take this combination because it is actually like this thing can still stop planes in A phase. It's not as likely to get killed by arty, and you can kind of zone out opponents at 2k as well, depending on what division they play and what units they have. And this thing is super good if your opponent has cheap planes, and then this thing in B phase is kind of your bread and butter for the AA. Arty tab, I just have kind of started liking using radio. I just started liking radio in A phase. It's just in some ways better than 81mm. Now the 81mm is cheaper. You can have 2 or 3 of them and use them in multiple places. There's definitely advantages to that. But the no radio ones have kind of let me down recently, and I've kind of listened to some of you guys who are more a fan of this, and I'm trying it, and I'm starting to like it, actually. The only other option here I would consider is this thing, because it's actually cheaper than the mortar. Still good rate of fire and damage, and also smoke, so that's pretty decent. And then we take you off when I need it for CQC or just winning town fights or things like that. And as for the air tab, it's not super strong. Not taking any of the AT planes, even though this division can actually lose against a lot of armor divisions. Like, I'm not joking, this a lot of armor divisions counter this division super well. But both of these are just not really convincing me. They very often don't do what you want them to do. And then I'd rather just not waste those points, because you know, you can take it in as a sort of assurance, but at the end of the day, it's just to make you feel good, because they still don't do what you need it to do, which is why I don't even take them. As for the fighters, I think we need it because our A situation in AF is still not great. I'll just take this. It's 60 points for 220 mils. It's hard to pass on. Yes, the resilience is very bad. That much is true. But honestly, bad is not that much better. And while these guys are faster, both of these, the gun load is kind of worse. They're a little bit expensive for what they actually can do, so I'd rather prefer this one, since it's a bit shitty and slow. As for the recon, I do want to have a recon plane, just take the one with the very good resilience. This thing is just not that good resilience, at the same price, and this thing is just straight up bad. If you go and watch the game that I think I talked about against Goscott in my second or third video on this channel, I used this and I lost a lot of points with it. And the problem with this is it has a big bomb loadout, which justifies a high price, right? It would be absolutely overpowered if it was like 25 points like the GO or something like that. The problem is it is still super slow. It has still very bad resilience. Any AA will force this off. Any plane will kill it. And you're just bound to lose a lot of points if you're going to use this. So you better not bother with it, really. Stukas are really good now. And this one has 2 good bomb loadouts, 2 separate ones. So you can do the turning off trick. And you get actually 2 really good bombing runs out of this, which is fantastic. And then there's 2 heavy bombers, which you can take if you... I mean, you could not, but I just don't really have... something else that I would really want to take. I think having some extra, itchy damage cannot hurt, even though it's not fantastic. Maybe we'll drop it after this game. This is just the faster of the 2. They both have very good resilience and decent bomb loadouts. And here we are, and yeah, that's not really the map we would hope for. And it's not necessarily a matchup we would hope for. Now, the good thing is we're on the good side, so that helps a lot, because we can actually pressure him here and here. We're not super fast. He's faster, so not really sure how well that's going to go, actually. So, yeah, the odds are not really in our favor. I think the most realistic chance to make a successful push are like somewhere over here. The problem is, where do we go next? Like, here in the center is just not super good. He has 2k, I do not. The 88s do not really count as proper 2k. I'm probably going to bring one like somewhere over here. Yes, over here would be nice, because they can, like, some place here you can actually support this as well. But I'd rather not losing it and just cover the open here, and here we can go for a little bit more of a defensive positioning. I think that's realistic. Problem is also that armor can be countered super nicely with the Piats, so we have to be very careful of how we do things. And he's faster too, so it's just overall not a good matchup. He's going for the long game, so the question is really how good is he going to be able to push an A phase? If he's a good A phase pusher, it's probably not going to go well for me. If he kind of struggles with his A phase push and I can then kind of overwhelm him in B phase, it might work well, because V for Victory is really on high levels of play. I think we had a discussion in the one comment section. I can definitely see why a V for Victory can be super strong income, especially against Maverick. But it really requires you to be a very good player and to know how you have to play in which phase and to kind of read your opponent well enough. So usually the problem is you're not far enough in A phase, and then in B phase it's just very difficult to react to anything due to the difference in income. So I can basically, like, within 2 minutes I can easily set up a really nice push, and he doesn't really have that much income to react to that. So that's kind of a problem. So that's it really depends on how this actually plays out specifically. But yeah, I think we're gonna bring the recon early on. Maybe actually right here. And then bring this guy a little bit further back. If he tries to push up here, actually, with some stack hounds, we can counter it with the SPW222. Because up close, this thing will generally pen. I've seen this with against Suez and things like that. It will get one pen, but it has, this is 8 HP and the stack hands do 5 health, 5 damage. And then the next thing that's going to happen is this thing will, if it didn't already kill it, it will stress out the stack hound so that he's falling back and not shooting anymore. Then we'll finish it off. That's how it goes usually. Now, one thing that we're going to do, and this is exactly why we have this Borsi. Just going to send him in here. But even if he does an encirclement here, he will need to dig it out if it gets in there. It's going to be super annoying. That's one thing that we're going to do. So here we can't really do any plays like that. But this is not really good, because this is the map where it's not super easy to shift around. He has 2k right from the start, so it's not going to be very easy. Maybe it's worth a try to kind of push here. The good thing is these guys can actually potentially pen Cromwells and overwhelm them. So that's a good thing. The other good thing is the Cromwells will struggle against a Stück. So if we put a Stück here, I think we might actually have a chance of contesting this for a while. Not very long, but we don't need to contest it very long. I'm also going to send a Borsi in here and not more. I think the one Borsi should be okay. It needs to be enough. Either we're gonna have a chance of grabbing this flag or not, but it doesn't really get that much better if we send in a lot of Borsi. Yeah, that's just unfortunate truth. As for this, we're gonna try it as well. And I think we're really gonna... We haven't even started with that yet. So I think a Stück here for support is good. Honestly, if we can take him right up to here, I will then lose. I'll call it a win. Okay, so this is not the map and matchup that this division needs. So I think we have our goal. If we manage to win this, even better. But I try very much, and I still need to try and put myself into that mindset, especially when things don't look very good. That this is that we're playing this with the intention of trying to do as good as we can, and not the intention of actually really winning this, because yeah, it's just not super realistic in a lot of matchups, and that's all right. Just have to we have to get in there with realistic expectations, and not the expectation of this thing absolutely shredding everything. But we have a nice opponent. He's waiting. I think I remember the name, so that means that I've played against him for sure. And that can mean either of two things: either he's very good, or he's not very good. My guess would be on the former, because those names tend to stick around way better. And he knows about the 38 specifically, because he probably knows that this is the strong unit in this division. We could actually try and go for like a little flanking maneuver here. I mean, why not? I want to keep some of them actually around, so we're gonna bring the T11 up here. This is the one that likely is gonna die more easily. Might also want to... you know what, we're gonna try this. This is unfortunately also not the map to try that thing, really. But, you know, might be able to snipe some transports, something like that. Like, in this position, might not be the worst idea. I'm wondering if you might... No, I think if he sends down, like, a stack hunter, he will spot it immediately. It's not really realistic that we're gonna do anything with it. Could bring it in here. Is realistically gonna kill anything? Probably not. We're not gonna bother. Oh, but, you know, this is very actually useful. Just hold this. Just make sure that nothing, like, no, our light armor can push past there, and I think we're gonna be good. He might have the field engineers, or he might have the good, like, Sturmpire thing. Gonna send a mix here of CQC and other stuff. And I think some more light armor just to be there and be annoying. Gonna hold ground. I don't think we're gonna face check the open here. It's probably just not the best idea. More recon would probably good as well. I think some recon like up here. Even though the line of sight tool is sometimes a bit wonky, I think we might actually be able to spot stuff over here. So we can send it over here afterwards. And then I think this is where... Oh, we forgot. We have these guys. Using that as well. Yeah, I mean, this is... I'm not going to tell people that I'm recording this. They don't recognize me, but... which I'm actually much preferring. Because then otherwise I feel like I'm under pressure. That's of course always the issue. Right, when I'm... Oh, okay. Again, as I said last time, I usually... I guess that's on me since I said just a second. But as I said, like previously at some point, I usually just start wait for the timer to run down if people do that. But again, against... he was nice enough to wait, and with you guys watching, I don't want to let you wait. I could, of course, cut it out as well, but, you know, not going to be that much of a dick today. Because, again, he was actually nice and wait, and I think he just started because I said just a second. Also, really, like, seriously, I do understand at some point people just want to start, right? So you can't, like, wait forever till someone deployed. If someone takes, like, an hour or so, at some point it's just not fun anymore. Okay, yes, EA. Is it the Bofus or is it it's the Bofus? Okay. But that's good because that means he has less forces on the ground. This is like a channel. This is such a queue thing, really. Like you see it rarely, and if you see it, it's in very specific places. I think in tournaments where people actually deploy planes right from the start. That's a good reason because it's usually just not that good. Deploy A because it's again usually it's just well, if he doesn't actually have any AT here, I don't mind. There's a Cromwell. That's alright, as long as I'm not gonna get... Because he decided to deploy a lot here. Well, the Firefly's probably gonna get that. Which is okay. It's gonna have to put something there. I probably shouldn't have wasted a radar unit on that. You might have stuff in there which I don't really like. Okay, so these got in. I'm gonna start spamming this, and I think we're gonna get some recon in here just to try and spot what's there. I'm trying to go that way and see what we can do. We probably want to cut this off with some armor and things like that. It's another Bofus. This is it, right? Yeah, this is it. Okay. Is that Cromwell's? It is Cromwell's and Stewart's. So 38s can potentially do it. We can redirect this. And we can move the probably not that way. Because there might be Piats over there. What are you seeing? Did I unload that? That was not the plan. I think I'm going to buy early artillery. I'm not actually in need of... Oh, that's not really what I was hoping for. But these can now engage from the flank. But yeah, I think we're just going to bring this. Do we have radio over here? We still do, but not for long, so I think we're going to bring one of these guys over here now. Right, shows our dominance. Right, you can pin the Steward, you can definitely fight. The recon Cromwell might be an issue. Okay, securing that. So we're not going to keep that. Fortunately, we're also not having that, but we might. Spancing. Try to get as close as we can, and this thing might actually get a side shot too. Good. Let's push. Just need to make sure that we trade well at the moment, and I think we're doing just that. This one we need to be careful with. We might actually be able to do this. I'm not really sure how well it's going to work, but I have not actually tried. Ever, really? Right, so up here, we might be able to push forward here a little bit. Get the boost in. Maybe it's good to set up some support first. Oh, see, this is the power of this thing right here. 38p, absolute monster. Absolute Chad unit. The Cromwell's probably going to finish it. At this range, yeah, it shouldn't really miss, which it didn't. That's alright. That's just how things are. We might be able to kill that Cromwell over there, though, with... then we might be able to move one of these in up close. Now in here, I'm definitely intrigued by what I see. Not a lot happening here, so we might be able to push. Same here as well. I mean, he has definitely... So this is why I'm not necessarily against pushing this. Because he has AA here and here. That's expensive. That's like almost 200 points. So, you know, there can't be all that much, realistically speaking. I might be able to send like a boost over here. Grab ground, and we might be able to send some motorbikes and kind of push this. I'm very happy with that. Also, he has stuff here. So we might be able to engage it. We could also bring a Stück and then clear it out properly. I think that's the way to go, really. Like, let's fold them back. Never mind. Actually, let's push him. Okay, there's stuff over there. Can still potentially do damage there. So the stuff in here, this we know. Good, transmission damaged, love it. And I want to send like a motorbelt in here. We just need to hold it right there. That's good. Okay, we can try to sneak through there. And I think we should be able to overwhelm him over there. Oh, both of us love to kill that. That's great. Got a good kill over there. I think we just follow up with motorbelt right away. Same thing here, Pionieri. I'm gonna push. Just gonna push. Yeah, I think we're gonna need more stuff there. Maybe it's just the motorized rifles over here. Oh, we got Borsi here, actually, forgot about that. Okay, got another kill there. She can take it from there if needed. Oh, he starts going after this now. Oh, I forgot about the APCR situation here. I will have mobile artillery anyway, so there's no real point in going for counter battery, I think. But maybe it would be a smart idea to... I don't actually need more pioneers, I just realized this. I'm a bit afraid of his Piats, so... Oh, he's pushing here actually heavily. So, we're gonna bring some more 38Ps over here for defensive purposes. And I think another Stück. And then we're just gonna... Oh, there's an AT gun somewhere here. Hidden. We can bring the recon plane in here again, since the AA died. Just gonna set you on fire at will, I guess. What did you spot? I spotted these guys. Well, we can definitely deal with that. Just go after whatever you can see here, really. So there's defense groups in there, so that means, technically speaking, I think it should be good. Oh, there's a 6-pounder over here. Okay, we're gonna push that as long as we still can, and then we're gonna try to get back in here. I think we're just gonna engage this straight away and push these forward to where I think we're gonna be in just a bit. And push these guys forward as well. And then next up, you're going to push in there. Should generally win out against a Stück. We should be good. And then we're going to bring like an AT gun in here. Actually in here. Might be better. And another Stück like up here. Just going to push, push, push. That's going to be the strategy. The name of the game here. Oh, it's counter battering, but I mean, again, it's what they're called. The light ones, you know, the ones that don't really... Alright, let's push. Light armor for the win. Yeah, this is where we now send like a Borsi in here. We're gonna send a Borsi in here. We're gonna try and send a Borsi up here. We're gonna try and send a Borsi up here. We're gonna... Oh, Stück died. Oh my. Well, we got another one here. Might have been a Firefly, actually. We have to be a little bit careful about that. Right. There we go. Domination. Domination. And we know there's nothing here. So this is why you don't buy AA in 2 places right away. It's like 200 points of your starting income. Like, that's a lot. That's not a small amount. Oh, it's not falling back anymore. We can actually try and push. We can move this a little bit aggressively to cover this off properly. And I think we have a lot of light armor now to spam around. And I made the mistake again of buying this ship. It's just not that good. Yeah, that might have been a mistake. So it's... Oh no, it's 25 pounds. I could have actually kind of bet. 25 pounds is still not a good unit though. I'm not really sure why you would ever buy it. I might actually be able to push forward over here a little bit. I can cut that off. You know what? This is super aggressive, but, you know, if it pays out, it pays out. I think we can allow ourselves to go defensive here. It's all the light armor now. This is something that we have to be mindful of, but we still have some 38Ps that we can have over here. This, I do think we fall back, like, entirely for the time being. It's just waited way too long with his offensive. Now it's coming. It's not a bad one. It's just not really good enough. It's definitely, like, it's cleared up a lot of ground here, so it's not dangerous. It's actually dangerous. We have to make, like, a smart combination of T here. We're gonna defend back here. If we have to lose that, we have to lose that. That's all right. I think now we're just gonna push here and see what we can do. We can push this and see what we can do. We're gonna put this guy like right onto the flag and actually be able to kill a transport here, which I love. Yeah, this is just gonna make like the Borsi everywhere, just gonna make it super annoying for him to actually hold any ground. That's the whole plan here. What we also have now is these guys. All just motorized rifles, so I mean, easy target, tons of 50 cals, but we can deal with them. Though there's not that much, you know, the big pushing power here is like, yes, all of these, the Wolverine and the Firefly. Like, these are the big problem right here. But they're not a problem that we cannot solve. I think that's a big thing right here. And if it pushes these too far forward, have all these guys just to stop that, so... and I actually be able to sneak one of these, like, behind here. It would be super fun as well. It's gonna... I might actually get in. We can still bring a Borsi up here and one up here. And bring these guys in there. I'm gonna try it again, since we will have spotted things by then. Yeah, and now he's gonna run in a ton of tricks and just score that something here. That's probably gonna be the end of that push. Okay, so I think we kinda lost that now. Timing is... So we're just gonna push it over here. And we can try to hold it off right here. Some actual... This is where we should not, like, stick to places that we know we have no chance of taking, but where we just shift our attention and push other places. Oh, this is not what I wanted. This is also... Oh, you can stay in here. We still need to defend this at some point, like, somehow. We got that back. We can definitely push that back a little bit. Oh, yes, way too much here. So this is also something that I don't get. I have been using a recon plane, admittedly, but like he's spending on 2 Bofors, which is another 200 points, while he's being pushed back like hard. So that's a major mistake right there, and one that can be like really costly. I think I'm gonna bring another Stück like in here actually. This might be able to push a bit more. Oh. Okay. There's a Firefly now. Maybe we can push up here. I think he might not even have that many, what's it called, Piat units over there. Now we're just gonna hide you in there, and it's gonna be annoying for him to take back. Oh, he has, I think there was a Piat right here. We have to be careful. We have to remember that we should always bring infantry first, and then bother with everything else. He's also invested a lot into artillery that hasn't really helped him a lot. I think he doesn't have any tanks now, like, in offensive position anymore, so we might actually be able to push with those. We might be able to push that forward for defensive purposes, like support. This one has revealed himself, I think, so we can... Oh, forgot about those. Yeah. I think we just leave them there and see what we can do with them afterwards. Yeah, but I think... Oh... I always put the units, like, in the wrong spot. But yeah, as you can see, the spam is really just the way to go with this, so I'm just gonna spam a lot right here. Yeah, I mean, that was a rough one for him. I mean, it's really, like... The spam is part of the problem. Like, don't get me wrong. But I think he kind of played this very bad as well. As in, again, he overforced with his AA, which is just not a good idea. And he got the bad side. Like, that we have to say too. If very important. If the roles were reversed, I would have 100% lost. Like, this map from his side against the 2K division is pretty much unwinnable. Unless he's super fast and can actually rush in. I've seen that by some player, I think, with some 2K division, and he lost against 1st Airborne on that map, but that is super rare. I don't remember who that was. It was a good player. who pulled that off. Now, if he can do something like that, of course, he can win from his side of the map. But unless this is the case, not really true. Again, I'm always interested. So it's not an experienced player. But yeah, again, I think on the other side of the map, I wouldn't have won that. If the map were more balanced on this map, I might still have won, I think, considering how things went. But yeah, I think his major mistake was to kind of over-invest into AA and then units that didn't really hold up super well. Like, for his deployment, all those motorized rifles would have been super clutch to hold off my armor. And maybe, you know, some more defenses on the other side. I don't really know what the game plan was, but I think that was part of it. Because, like, he had good matchup, I think, to kind of hold up my division in fights that were not beneficial for my division. But the fact that I could pressure him so much in A phase already was, yeah, I mean, like, this just shouldn't have happened. I didn't even realize that this happened. This one I realized, this one I didn't. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't lose a Bofors to that. That's really bad. What else? I mean, this was a bad matchup for him, admittedly. Like, the P38s did a lot of carrying. I do have to say that. P38s are incredibly strong. So those, every time they overpend or they trade it well, this is just part of the deal. I mean, we also have to say, I think on, like, maps where the Piats can do a lot more, this would also have been a much harder matchup for me as well. Because Brunirana just doesn't do well with that. Like, Brunirana just can't deal with that. You really rely on these guys, and if they drive into Piat range pretty much everywhere, it's not going to be fun anymore. What else? Yeah, I mean, here. Yeah, he had a lot of Cromwells. It just, I don't know. He had some Fireflies. The one loss he lost against a Stück. I don't know. I think he pushed it forward. Yeah, I think he just wanted it a little bit too much, to be honest. He could, realistically speaking, he lost. The flag in the center was also, like, this one he just didn't defend. I think on a single tick, he could have really survived until the end of, because I couldn't really push well. Like, but on my left, it was the most reasonable place for me to push. But everywhere else, like, he could have put, like, 2 Fireflies down, maybe some extra AT pieces or something like that, on my right and center, and he would have left me only the left. And there he could have put all the rest in, you know, all the infantry, all the AT guns, and I would not have been able to push at all. And when that happened, then he could just slowly outcrime me because I'm on a timer, right? So this is how he can win against these kind of division. Then, yeah, here his push happened. It just happened a bit too late and it wasn't really well done. He had way too many half-tracks and motorized rifles, considering that my division is basically armor. So if you rush them in and put them in places where the Pia can work again, like in this close, tight spaces, that would have been a whole different story, but it wasn't. And yeah, I mean, that was just a slaughter. But yeah, as I said, I think these kind of divisions you can easily, like, if you know the opponent is playing a relatively trashy division, and he is it's on Maverick, you just go super defensive in AVs. But some of these divisions kind of, like, if he wanted to really leverage his strength in the center, there's not much that I could have done. And then he could just you know, waited it out and, like, ran at me down. And I'm on the timer. I need to push. So that's kind of how it works. This thing got some good kills as well. This was a super bad one. Yeah. On his side, when the Firefly, still a Firefly. Like, that one did well. The Recon Cromwell also killed a lot of my tanks there, because that was to be expected. The Cromwell is still overall better than these, but these can up close P38. So disgusting. It's these kind of things. Yeah, I think that's basically what happened. The Wolverine, of course, went against Stück. It's also not super surprising, I think, as it fires faster overall, and the Firefly actually killed more infantry. But yeah, that was a short one. Now, to be honest, since I'm filming this one day of before uploading it, I don't really have time to play another game, so sorry for you guys that you have to live with this short game. We're going to go right back to the build and talk about my thoughts on it. Unfortunately, this game was not, you know, the best indicator for this, but it is what it is. And here we are back with the deck. Now, two things that I quickly want to say. So first of all, I tried actually still to play another game, and it was super quick, but it was on Oceanhof against Großdeutschland, and it actually, you know, showed a good example of what this division can do, because Großdeutschland doesn't really have any light AT. It has some light armor, but it doesn't have light AT, and this armor here, or at least the P38 and the Skoda T11 do well against that light armor, and it was a great example of how bad it can be to not have light armor when your opponent can just spam these guys around everywhere. It was super fast. It ended before the end of A phase. I didn't even bother. Yeah, but there was one thing, so we got a little bit more out of it. And the second one is that I do have to correct two statements I made when talking about the game afterwards. The first one is actually, like, the P38 specifically counters, of course, the Cromwell super well, and the Stewards. So it is in fact true that this division had some counters, but still, I think that the overall statement was true that you know, Desert Rats would be better suited for that than Brunirana. But what specifically also disappointed, I think my play on the right side to flank around there with my P38s, that was really clutch and was kind of important too, because that really helped me actually getting some value with these guys, as they really just dominated his forces there. And it would not have been the same had he been able to stop them. So just wanted to point that out. So what are my general thoughts on Division before we actually go to how I would change the deck? And I would actually suggest to change it quite a bit, because I think Vanguard is probably the better way to go with this based on these experiences. Now, of course, they are both against players where there was a huge skill gap, and that might be very misleading, and this division might not be a Vanguard division. But I do have a feeling based on those games, not because of how I won them, but more because of how it felt to play this division aggressively, that I think Vanguard might be it. But and of course the other reason is that, you know, the spam is harder to work by B phase. Your opponent can put some more defenses down. In A phase, it might be easier because your opponent might not be that ready to deal with a lot of light armor. By B phase, I think it's a higher chance of him being able to do that, especially since our light armor B phase is not as good anymore. But so my general impression hasn't really changed. This is really a division that is meant to crack your opponent quickly if he can't deal with light armor. And as I said, I think the goal is to be everywhere with the light armor, and kind of spread around super nicely. And yeah, I mean, the worst nightmare of this division basically is anything that can deal with light armor very easily. So a lot of light ATs, a lot of Soviet divisions, for example, with the 45 mils are going to be a problem with this division. T-34s are relatively cheap and can definitely deal with those light tanks. And then, you know, you have a lot of Soviet tools that can counter Axis these days as well, depending on the range a little bit, of course. But yes, it's definitely tools that can counter you a little bit heavier armor as well. CQC will stand no chance there. Even at range, you will probably lose. A lot of Western allies will be a problem as well, since they often do have bazooka on their units, and Shermans will, of course, be a brick wall for your light armor too. The P38 might be able to overpen one of them every now and then, but it's going to be very rare. You're going to have to be a bit lucky for this to happen. And so overall, I just think, yeah, you have Panzer forces, strict freeze, but they can't really, I don't think they can really fill that gap. So that's where I think this division kind of sits. And then against Axis, it really depends. If they have a lot of light AT guns, it's not a good matchup. If they don't, it's a good one. So as you can see, that doesn't really leave a lot of division open, right? Like some Western Allied divisions and some Russian Soviet divisions will struggle against this, but I think there's a good amount of them that can actually deal with this division fairly well. Anything with an AT plane is really dangerous because you can lose a lot of your light armor very quickly. And that just means that what I said at the start, my opinion hasn't really changed on this division. It can be super fun, but it's really map and matchup dependent, and the chance of you getting a good map and matchup is just not super high, which is why it's generally low. But you can have some fun with it, and if you use it for a tournament, it can actually be useful in some situations. Just need to know when it's the right moments to pick it. So, yeah, we build it Vanguard. I think this is the better way of doing it, because it just, for the reasons that I said, essentially, And I think the way you're going to play this is really you have a lot of light armor and you sprinkle it everywhere, or you have a bigger wave and combine it with like Stug or something like that, where it can actually be super annoying. I'm not sure if it was in the second game that I recorded or in the first one where I made this reference of the game between Gasgard and SpongeBob, but this is kind of the way you have to do it, right? You throw a bunch of these together, mix in like a Stug or two, and then it can actually do some work. So let's look at the build though. So a few changes need to be made, of course, to make this suitable for Vanguard. First of all, I'm going to make the obvious ones. So this, I think it's probably going to rather move to A phase. Don't think we're going to spend the money on 2 off maps anyway. This is another change that I wanted to make anyway. But I'm going to specifically do it now. They're super cheap, so we can buy more of them, but I think realistically speaking, we don't want to waste a lot of points, and we'd rather have those that we have perform better, so we're just going to double edit. The vet curve kind of sucks. If it was free, it was much better, but I think it's still okay. The rest here, we're going to keep for now, although I can already say that for all of this. I think we're going to drop this out, because we're not gonna air spam B phase actually, since we don't have an income advantage anyway. You could still, it's not that you can't buy more planes B phase if you're playing Vanguard. It's absolutely not true. But with this division and how not super good those bombers are, I just think there's no point in doing it. If we were overwhelming our opponent anyway, I think it would have been a different story, but this is actually probably not going to be that much the case in B phase. And then for the rest, we need to have a quick chat about how we're going to want to set this up. So the basic idea that I have in mind is that you want to have your division flexible in B phase, so that depending on how things go, you can either switch into defensive mode in B phase already, or you can still, go full on offensive, or you can kind of do a hybrid thing. So I think we definitely need to have the tools ready by B phase to go defensive, but we still want to have some offensive power. Because if against balance, we can definitely stay a little bit more on the offensive. Against Maverick, we might need to be more defensive. But also depending on how the games goes, how the trades went, I think things can change a lot. So first things first, I think we're going to have to build more for A phase, of course. In the infant chat, I would probably honestly just swap this Behota, move it to A phase. We can also take the Motor Behota, of course. We can go back to this discussion. Again, leader would also be nice. You could also move one of these B phase into A phase. I decided not to because I think having the boards in B phase is still super nice because the raid rate is useful. And then we can, in B phase, can still try to sneak these in. This is where we might have to start looking a little bit more for some, flags that we can grab and just kind of hold on to what we can, and I think this is where the raid rate really comes in clutch, which is why I think in B phase are still going to be super useful. We could of course take both in A phase as well, but the advantage of the Behota is it becomes an open blitz, so we'll have another fast unit that arrives there, faster than the Motor Behota. I think that's not bad. Cool. This, I think we're going to keep it as it is. And then for the tank tab, I mean, these two are both fantastic. We're not going to change anything there. Now, this is where we're going to change things. Of course, I think in that case, we want to have the leader in A phase. I wasn't really going to spam it around in B phase anyway. Of course, that is also game dependent. In other games, that might have been the case. And then I think we do want to have a Panzer IV in A phase already as well. And I'm just going to pick the leader, although having forward, of course, would be super nice. But I just feel like it will help us now to have a little bit more leadership with our tank, but also I think now we're relying a little bit more on having some range and punch where needed. Now in B phase, this could be enough to go defensive and still be some flexible. So for now, I'm going to keep this, but I would definitely love to have a Panzer IV in there as well to, again, already have a flexibility that we previously had in C phase. For situations where maybe a Panzer IV might be better than a Stug. Another thing that we could consider is removing this, and the reason for that is I think the channel idea I really like, but I didn't really use it. Now the question is now, is it just not? I know that it works super well for Stan when he did it, but of course he had different tanks, right? So yeah, in the game that I talked about him using this, that was of course lots of Cromwells and some Shermans. So that's not quite the same as these guys, who are a little bit more spammable and a little bit more expendable, I would say. They just can't dominate as much as one of these tanks. So it's questionable whether we really need this. The other question would then be what would we take instead. And I think there's definitely some things that would be useful. You could definitely take this thing still, but I actually, so having started to think about it, I do believe now that it's maybe better to just go with this, not without bothering too much about winning infantry fights, because it takes a lot of micro, and we're probably going to be more busy with macro with this division, as we're going to try to be aggressive and find gaps, and then microing this as well is probably not so useful. Our infantry is either there to just hold ground, or to delay maybe, or to be supported with by our armor, and airplane and artillery where needed. So maybe just gonna ditch the 50mm mortars, even though I hate to do it, but I think this might be better call. Another thing that I would like to do is maybe take one of these, as they can also be used super nicely defensively. Because remember, at the moment we don't have actually that much fighting power with our tanks. That could be an issue potentially. And that, you know, for defensive purposes will be a great tool to hold. Lastly, we could take these out and take more actual tanks. We could, for example, put these in B phase and then put some Panzer in there, or just Panzer and keep the Stück as it is. I think those are valid options. This thing is really bad, but the problem is we can still use it, or the nice thing about this, we can still use it to spam in B phase. Our opponent can't really recover well and react super well to it. This again is more against infantry, of course, and half-track. So it's also the half-track situation in the end, this would have definitely been able to deal with. So this is why this can still be useful. So if your opponent is actually starting to exploit your gaps, you can use that. But if you can still exploit gaps in your opponent's line, you can also use it for that. Those are kind of the two ways you can use this. I could definitely see it. Yeah, I think, considering that we have 2 points, so we could take this out and then we have enough, then we can take here, of course, another tank. But, you know, maybe we keep that utility and just take more of these and hope that this will do. Can we take these? No, we cannot. I mean, it would also be overkill. But I think we're going to do this, which looks really weird, like, considering that we're playing an armored division. But I think that kind of, I would see more as a light tank spam division than actual medium tank spam division, which is why I think having some medium AT is good. Because I just don't really see why we want to have more planes or why we want to have more artillery. And yeah, I think in that case, maybe this is better. I would much rather have more tanks. So I wish this would be a 2-point slot, and then we could easily do that. But we can't. So screw it. I think we're gonna give it a try. We're gonna give it a try with the Panzer IV here as well. And I think with that, we have a good combination of units that we're always strong, and then we're using more tanks for defensive purposes than AT. But I think it's okay. Just deploy these only when we really need it. I think that's going to be more of the strategy here. And we'll rely a lot on tanks. I mean, for defensive purposes, Stück is not too bad. When it can just be in an ambush position. But yeah, you could definitely do it the way I did previously. And again, you could make changes here as well. Maybe this is actually really a good idea, so maybe we should get it back. I guess I have to play the division a little bit more, and then we'll find out. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, even though it was a bit of a short game. Have a great day, and see you next time.